What's up, friends? Today, Wonder Woman 1984. This is a movie that was kind of groundbreaking in that it was straight to digital release, right? So it didn't go to theaters because of the COVID situation that we're currently going through. It jumped straight to HBO Max and was available for users to watch day one on streaming services. I've never seen a Marvel movie do this before, and I don't want to speak into the implications as to what this might mean for the future of movie theaters and movies in general, but I do think that it's a kind of a cool step because users get to watch the movie immediately instead of having to go to the theater and watch that. They can watch it at their own time, their own leisure, right when it comes out. So I thought it was cool. Nevertheless, it's kind of a long film, 2 hours 35 minutes. Wonder Woman 84 stars Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. This movie is kind of like a sequel to the first Wonder Woman movie, which I don't know if you guys watched. That movie was fantastic. I loved it. And this movie's a bit different, but I'll get to that in a second. This is a continuation. It stars the same character, Gal Gadot, and the characters you fall in love with. Obviously, Wonder Woman's awesome. Gal Gadot's fantastic. She cares about the role of Wonder Woman. You can tell this action scenes are cool. The bad guy in this movie is also great. He's like the type of guy who had good intentions, but then took them a little bit too far, and now he is wrapped up too deep, and you can tell every action he makes, he kind of the bad guy, the piece of shit. I mean, he starts out a lot more personable, but then after he becomes the main bad guy, he becomes something else altogether. But essentially the storyline goes is like there's this guy, billionaire, who finds this stone, grants anyone's wishes, right? So pretty powerful. And so he decides, which I've never thought of this before, but what he does is actually brilliant because like, anytime I've heard of Genie's lamp or a magic bottle or whatever, like where it grants wishes, people always wish for more wishes, or they just wish for what they want. But what he does, which is really cool, is he wishes to be the stone itself. So he gets the power to grant anyone's wishes altogether, which is kind of OP, obviously. But he goes around and grants people's wishes, but also stealing everything they ever liked, ever loved from them. And essentially it's up to Wonder Woman and her friend to go and stop this. Overall, not as bad as the critics are saying. Everyone thinks that this movie is garbage. Everyone's like, oh, this movie did not hit the mark like the old one. But honestly, if you go into it expecting Wonder Woman 2, you're not gonna like it. If you go into expecting a lower quality Marvel film that is aimed more towards learning lessons and teaching the youth more than the actual plotline and action, then you're gonna like this movie. The reason I say that is my mom loved this movie, but me and my dad, who are much more into plot and characters, thought it was kind of but I'll explain. So the first thing that's gonna put you off is the CGI. There are some scenes, specifically action scenes, that are hard to watch because they're so cheesy. So if you have watched cheesy films in the past that have garbage CGI and have not been bothered by them at all, then this movie definitely for you, because if the CGI doesn't impact you and you're not that big of a fan of like a plot being extremely intricate, then this is a cool film altogether. There's also a third character in this movie who she does fantastic, right? And you really fall in love with the character, but then she does some other things and goes in a path that, I mean, you could see coming, and it's obvious, like you can justify in your mind why she chose to do that, but it gets weird really quickly, and you're like, okay, I don't know if that was like the best option for that character. But nevertheless, it doesn't detract too much from the overall movie. So it does hold your attention. A lot of things happen. It's not really a movie where it's slow and boring and dreary. It's a movie where characters are doing things all the time. Or there's a comedy scene, or there's character development, or there's action. There's always something going on. But with that, this is definitely a film that you're gonna have to go into expecting full movie logic. You can't think while watching this movie. And I know that might sound weird, but you really have to let go. This is a de-stressing movie. And it's a de-stressing movie where all you have to do is watch the action, watch what's going on, enjoy like Wonder Woman in all her glory and the other characters, and just sit back and let the director just shove their lesson down your throat. Like it's not a lesson that's, and I'll mention the lesson after my parents' guide. So if you don't want it spoiled, you can watch it for yourself. Stop the video before the parents' guide. But essentially, it's a lesson that the director keeps mentioning, and it's fantastic, but it's a little bit overkill. But it's perfect for viewers who like to disconnect and just sit there and watch what happens, because if you don't care about the plot too much, it's still a fun ride, and it's still a Marvel movie, so it has that Marvel charm to where the comedy's pretty good. Like, it's not bad. It's pretty funny. It's not outrageously funny. You know, I'm not talking this is the end. I'm not talking about like that type of humor. I'm talking about like Marvel humor. So this is definitely a movie I would recommend watching with your kids, watching with your family, even showing your parents, like moms or dads who don't care about plot but are into the lesson goodness and the learning about the good in the world and learning about feminism, the value of everyone and how everyone has their own power and beauty, and you should never discount yourself. If you want to learn all those lessons and you want to show somebody those lessons, or you want to teach those to your kids, it's a fantastic movie. They do a great job. Very straightforward, easily digestible. There's a lot of, like, I'll refer to them as glitches, but essentially there's scenes and stuff where things happen where you're like, okay, that's not how it's gonna happen in real life whatsoever. But if you let go of the logic, right, and you just watch what's happening instead of thinking about if it's realistic, if that could happen, or what you do in that situation, if you just stop thinking about all that, instead just watch it, it's a good time. It's very enjoyable for younger demographics. Definitely has a little bit of something for everyone. So I would recommend checking it out if you love Marvel movies in the past. If you like movies where you can just de-stress, disconnect, just watch action, funny characters, and Gal Gadot, then this is the movie for you. And I would recommend it. I'm going to give it 3 out of 5. This is definitely a movie that, because it has not too much of a plot and it's much more like just watch and disconnect, you can definitely work on a project while watching this movie, or put it on the background for your kids to watch while you're cooking, or even as a kid, like just throw it on while you're working on homework or something. So now, moving on to the parent's guide. This movie is meant for younger ages, so nothing is too dressed. Obviously, it's a Marvel action movie, so there's action violence. There's no blood, there's no death, so no characters die. Instead, it's like they'll get incapacitated, or Wonder Woman will like throw them off a building, but then catch them right before they reach the ground. You know what I'm saying? So it's like she'll make sure they can't fight, but she'll never like actually hurt them, which is cool. But it's not like a, you know, action movie like John Wick. Again, a lot of the action is shoddy. The CGI is shoddy. So if you're going into expecting fantastic action, you're not going to get that. But the scenes do hold up, and they're not bad. Like, some of the action scenes are kind of cool when things collide and she's flying all over the place using a rope. She's sick, not gonna lie. No blood or anything, so it's good for kids. So for action, I would rate it a 2, just because nothing really too bad. For sexual content, there is obviously make-out scenes, and then there's a wake-up scene where it's like semi-nude, but nothing too drastic, and definitely no nudity, nothing. So I would rate it like a 1 out of 5. And the language, I didn't catch any swear words or anything like that. So in terms of language, I'd give it a 0 out of 5, just because there's really nothing too outrageous, you know, to mention. So I would say this movie is definitely for everyone. If you're a fan of previous Marvel movies, flimsy action movies, cheap CGI, but strong messages, let's make the world a better place type of vibe messages, then this is a movie for you. I'll delve into the messages in a second, but at this point, if you want to watch it for yourself, I recommend clicking off, smash the like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below if you watched this movie or enjoyed it, disliked it, and why. But yeah, that concludes the parental guide. I'm going to end this review talking about a couple of the lessons you learn from this movie. The main lesson I would say is you have to be yourself. They really try to hammer in is the idea of like, yeah, you may not be as strong as Wonder Woman, right? Specifically, this is a little bit of spoiler alert, but there's this character, the Glasses Lady character, who even at the beginning of the movie, you get the sense that she wants to be Wonder Woman. She's misunderstood by a lot of people. She doesn't have that confidence in herself that she sees other people having, and she wants it. And instead of believing in herself, she takes a shortcut route that has some negative implications. So I would say the message to her, like, be yourself, and there are no shortcuts, you know? Go the long route. Be willing to put in the work. I would say one of the biggest lessons in this movie is the idea that nothing comes free, right? So main bad guy, he wanted everything. He wanted everything for free, right? He didn't want to work for it. He worked for it for a while, couldn't make it happen, so now he just wants it handed to him. And he realizes that when you get things handed to you, it's not the same. It's not the same at all, in fact. And you kind of learn that over the course of the movie. It's pretty apparent, like I mentioned before, so if you have heard that message before and that doesn't resonate with you, then this movie might not be for you, but nevertheless, thank you so much for checking out my video, and I'll see you guys later.